Hey guys, we are the premier guitar crew at Winter NAMM 2019 in Anaheim, California. And we've got a guest here, Bob Bruno from Best Coast.
Hey,
great
everybody.
guitar player with a pretty great rig rundown that we did with him a while ago. Big pedal fan.
Oh, yeah.
You're joining it. Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me. My
We appreciate
pleasure.
it. You actually live here,
I live
right?
in Los Angeles, yeah.
So
it's like-
you just woke up, got out of bed, came over.
Well, I went to Disneyland yesterday and stayed down here. So,
Really?
Then I woke
Okay.
up and hit it hard today.
Sweet. He's also a huge Creed fan. We found out
Yeah,
while we were
I'm-
talking.
Fight me. I love Creed.
So, we are here to give you our top 2 or 3 things from the show we saw today. We saw tons of cool stuff. We're going to boil it down to the stuff that really struck us the most. And we're going to have Bob go first.
My favorite thing today was the Dunlop Billy Gibbons custom fuzz thing they're doing. It's like a vintage style fuzz with EQ. And I have a lot of fuzz pedals, and I was able to dial in things that I hadn't heard before, new tones. So that's always exciting to find something like that. So
How would you describe him?
Just like, well, one fuzz sound I always like is like super nasally, like beyond scoop. So I did that by just boosting the highest frequency and then taking everything out, and it's kind of like a wasp, like hornet's nest kind of sound, which is really cool.
Fuzz, right? Or?
Yeah, but this even more, and then
Really?
so I was playing that, and then just slowly adding different frequencies and getting all kinds of cool combos and stuff. So I can't wait to get one, and we're recording a new record soon, so it'll be really cool to try.
Sweet. I didn't see it, and I haven't seen the picture. So, what controls does it have?
So there's a volume and a fuzz on
It's
the
like
back.
a vintage Octavia style
Yeah,
box.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then on the front, there's a 7-band EQ.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
7-band EQ.
That lights
Damn.
up, and you
Like
shoot them
graphic EQ
Yeah.
style?
And I think they're only making like 400 of them or something. So it's a super limited thing, but I got to get on
Are
that.
they pricey?
I don't even know.
What's that?
I need to get one.
Pricey?
No. It was like 189.
Hell yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard of a 7-band EQ fuzz, so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Okay. I'll go next. So we went to Marshall. They have a new location that you can actually hear and not be bombarded. They used to be down here and it'd just be crowds and crowds of people around. They have 2 new Studio Series amps, and I don't remember the exact name, but they're 20-watt versions of a JCM 800. They're smaller. There's a 212 vertical cab. And there's also a version that's based on the 1959 Super Lead that's in the smaller 20-watt head and with the 212 cab. And you can bring them down to, I think they said 1 or 5 watts or something. The standby switch is a 3-way thing to lower the wattage. They also come in a 110 combo, and what else am I missing? I think there's also a 112 cab or something. They sounded great.
So the 800 is called the JCM 800 Studio, I think, and it looks just like an 800 but small. It's little,
not like lunchbox, but like this.
Yeah, it's literally half the size of a normal full stack. It'd be a skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen 212 cabs like that, Sovtech used to make them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the Marshall, the 800 they both sounded really good to me. But I feel like that 800 sounded like an 800.
Yeah, the 800, it was
Yeah.
more yours.
Yeah, I liked it. It was pretty high gain, and it sounded. It was high gain, but it was spongy. It had that I don't know.
Yeah, and the Super Lead one sounded great too. It was actually kind of louder.
I feel
a
like
little more dynamic.
it was
and
moving some
open,
air. Yeah.
But those sounded really good, and they were the heads $12.99, combos $14.99, and the 212 cab is $7.99. So that's pretty reasonable price. I think.
Also, they come with a direct out, which was kind of different. I thought that was weird.
The
and cool.
original 800s did not, right?
No,
I was
no.
because I think that Steve was the guy who was awesome in our demo, played for us. He said they had a DI. No, he said they're just like the originals. And then he said they have a DI. And I was like, I guess I don't know JCM 800s well enough, but yeah, that was cool.
No, I mean, the 800 when it came out was their Ford Focus. It was the bare bones, single channel. It does a thing, and that thing it does is awesome. But
yeah,
it was weird that I had a direct out. But with so many people using impulse response and cab stuff, and they're called Studio, so maybe that is some sort of
I guess
reference for using in the studio or something. But yeah.
So you
It
could
sounded awesome.
reamp it through different cabs or something. I don't know. That was cool.
All right, so to kind of piggyback on Bob's pick, the first video this morning that Keys and I did was at the Dunlop booth. Saw the Billy Gibbons Fuzz, sounded great, but I was really impressed by the Dukey Drive.
Really?
Yes.
I saw a photo of it.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen a photo of it, it's basically the Dukey album on a pedal, and it has an interesting thing. So what they did is they took Billy's two Marshall heads, Pete and Meat, were the two heads he's used on everything you've probably ever heard. And one is more like mid-focused and one is more scooped. So there's a blend knob on there. So all the way to the left is Pete, all the way to the right is Meat. And then if you really want to get like metally about it, there's a scoop button so you can scoop it even more.
Are those original Marshalls, were they 800s too or something, or do you know?
One was, I think. One was, yeah. And, I mean, you put the dial in the middle, and you start playing When I Come Around. Sounds like the record. I mean, it sounds just like that green. And he was able to, Brian, you could turn it down and get some like JTM 45 style tones, or if you really like just scoop everything, you can get more metal style. I mean, it was pretty, even if you aren't, a card-carrying Green Day fan, that you can get a wide spectrum of Marshall style tones out of it. And I was impressed. And it was, I want to say like $179, something like that. Like it wasn't super expensive. The graphics might throw some people off if they're not Green Day fans, but it's a really solid pedal, yeah, for sure.
It's cool that you say that. I've never in my life heard anyone reference Green Day and tone in the same sentence, but I think that's pretty cool.
It was very cool.
All right, what are you choosing,
What did
Perry?
I see? Okay, so Orange Amplification was doing some kind of weird stuff. They had a couple of new things that I thought were really cool, but they are making this thing called is it a pedal baby? Yeah, Pedal Baby 100. So they designed it for modeling amplifiers. It's a solid state, but it's Class AB, so kind of different than a lot of other power amplifier situations for a modeler, but small and $400.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
3 knobs, volume, presence, and resonance.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
it. It's only 3 knobs, just so you can kind of, because most people that are playing modeling amps have their sounds dialed in, and you just kind of tweak to the room. But he actually just played it like a preamp and played through pedals, and it sounded really great. Like,
Well, even when he didn't have any drive going, and
No,
it
it
was
was
just a little delay, it sounded very amp-like, not like sterile,
right?
pristine,
Yeah.
or whatever.
I was impressed with that. I thought it sounded really good and it handled pedals well. So yeah.
Bob, you got any others?
The new Fuzz Roche's pedal, I think it's called the Playing Mantis. It's kind of like a distortion, drivey kind of pedal. But then there's 2 oscillators that you can blend in with your distorted tone, and you can change the pitch on those. So just kind of not harmonize, but get it to match like whatever key you're playing. And you can. The problem with a lot of things I've played in the past that have that is like the oscillator is always a set volume, and a lot of times it's too loud.
Yeah.
And this, I was able to get it just kind of tucked in there, so it's not like an obvious
So it
effect.
could be like a background
Yeah,
haunting thing.
Yeah, just like a kind of weird texture to add in to your regular distorted sound, and that was super cool. And just as a standalone distortion, if you don't want to get into all the oscillation stuff, it sounded killer too.
Sweet. Let's see. My other one I was going to choose. I think you have a couple more, 1 or 2 more that you want to do.
There's
You want
some
to go through?
new Keeley stuff that I liked a lot.
Keeling? Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of my picks. We'll talk. You want to talk? I'm picking the synth. What are you picking?
Bring it
Oh.
up, guys.
I was into the distortion with the delay or reverb.
Oh,
That you could-
DDR.
Yeah, DDR. That sounded really good. And then I was into the fake tape echo, just because you can add vibrato,
Echo?
yeah, into that. And they're telling me it's stereo, so when you're doing stereo, you get kind of a swirly, almost like Leslie in a tape delay. And same, it has flange settings too, so
Yeah.
you can have plus or minus flange in there.
And Robert was like really excited with that echo because that's like the Guts is like a new platform for him.
Oh, cool.
So he's going to use that kind of framework for like a bunch of other pedals. He said, yeah.
But yeah, the 4 new ones they had, they all sounded really good.
Cool. My other choice for the day, we saw tons of cool stuff, but I'm going to narrow it down to 2. we spent some time with Andy Powers of Taylor Guitars up there, and he told us the story behind this whole new body shape they have called the Grand Pacific. It's kind of like a slope shoulder dreadnought, but a little bit bigger in the butt of the body, or whatever you want to call it. And he talked about, as a kid, like his dad is a carpenter, and his dad's a big hippie surfer and was really into Doc Watson and stuff like that. Andy's first concert when he was 5 was seeing Doc Watson, and I guess they met him before or after, and Doc Watson is like, oh, like Andy hadn't started playing guitar or anything yet, and Doc was like, well, hey, you like guitar? Well, maybe I'll rub off some guitar mojo on you or something, you know, like ruffled his hair or whatever. And
apparently it worked.
Right. And so I guess like 5 years ago, the V-Class guitars, I think, have been out for like a year and a half, 2 years. And they debuted on a different, was it the Grand Auditorium? I don't remember. A different body style, but the V-Class stuff actually came about like 5 years ago when he wanted to capture, he wanted to build an acoustic guitar that got the sound of like Doc Watson in the studio. But, you know, he mentioned later, I guess before his time at Taylor, he used to work on some of the guitars that were on album, like some of those albums. And he's like, if you play them in person, they don't sound anything like the recording. They kind of sounded horrible, but he wanted to build an acoustic that would sound like that without, you know, the nice mics and the tube preamps and all that. So he embarked on this new body shape that's sort of slope shoulder dread, and the V-Class stuff came from that actually, but they didn't debut that. They decided to debut the V-Class stuff on the other stuff that was a little more traditionally Taylor, because this is quite a departure for them. It's a much mellower,
it's a
kind
different
of vintage sounding guitar.
It doesn't do that Taylor thing. It does a new thing, but also they completely changed the bracing or something, right?
Yes,
Didn't he mention?
Well, that's what the V-Class is.
Yeah.
So it's much warmer, and he kind of talked about how when you listen to those old records that there's just a whole sound of the guitar. You don't hear individual notes like, oh, there's the B and the whatever chord, that all the notes just kind of blur together into a single sound. They really do. It sounded great. It's a really warm, mellow, kind of vintage sound. I enjoyed playing it, and it was cool to hear the story about how that came about.
All right. I spent a couple hours in the Fender lair upstairs today, and probably the big standout for me was the new Chris Stapleton signature Princeton, which is, it's a brown face 62 circuit, which they said they haven't really ever reissued before. This particular circuit from 62, 63. And, you know, it just has volume, tone, speed, and depth, you know, for the tremolo. And it sounded killer. It was, you know, they said they went really back and forth a lot with Chris to work on, you know, what he likes. And, you know, he just puts it on 9 and puts the tone wherever he kind of feels it, and controls clean and dirty everything with his you know, volume on his Jazzmaster.
Sweet.
And Nathaniel, the demo guy, was really slamming, really, really good. I don't think I'd ever done a Fender demo with him before.
Now, is this like a hand-wired thing, or
Yeah.
like?
Hand-wired, made in Corona. I think it comes in right at $2,000.
I was gonna ask.
Which is not, you know, it's not crazy expensive.
For a hand-wired amp,
No,
that's
for a
pretty
hand-wired
reasonable.
amp. And, you know, even if you're not like a Chris Stapleton fan, it's one of the better Princetons I've heard. I mean, it was really, really good. Really
Now,
good.
so does it have a 10-inch speaker then? Or?
Yeah, basically standard Princeton. You know, I guess there's probably some things under the hood that differentiate that Princeton circuit from other Princeton circuits, I'm guessing. But it was growly and big and loud, and the tremolo, the bass trem sounded really, really happening.
Sweet.
Really good.
Oh man, you'll have to excuse me, guys. My brain is fried. We've been hearing really loud noises all day. What else did I see that was awesome?
Ibanez, I think, is what
Yeah,
you chose.
at the Ibanez booth, they had some really, really cool, I think it's a new series that they're kind of trying to do.
Is it like Axion or something like that?
Or Axion. Yeah, Axiom. But they're doing like wild ass colors. Like the one I saw in particular, I don't know if you guys can see a picture of it, but it had like a blue and purple quilted maple. It was like ridiculous looking, but so beautiful. Like you would totally want it. You know what I mean? Like, just it was a beautiful piece of wood, man. You know, I thought they sounded pretty good too.
I think were they bare knuckle pickups or something?
Yeah, they got all new. I guess that whole line.
Aftermath or something. Bare knuckle aftermath. I think something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and then they had another series that had Fishman Fluence pickups as well. And I think they came in around the same price.
Close, yeah.
Real close, but yeah. Man, I haven't seen shredder guitars in a long time where I was like, holy crap, I want to buy that. And then today I was like, damn, I would totally hang that on my wall. It's so beautiful. You know, it looked like a pretty cloud.
Sweet. Bob, you got any more, or should we let these people go?
Those are all my pedal picks for today that I saw.
Anything else?
Fender's doing that Meteora as a non-limited thing, and I've seen it. I was at the showroom a couple weeks ago, and they have all these crazy colors that are coming out, and like I love that body shape that they came up with for that guitar. So I'm really stoked on that.
It's a weird body shape, sort of. But it's got, let's see, it's sort of offset or sort of like slanted on the lower bout, but then it's got like telly pickup or
kind of like
bridge, right?
Those offset tellies they did a couple years ago, merged with like more of like a Jazzmaster kind of body. But those things look awesome, and yeah, that was probably my favorite guitar I saw today.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're gonna let you go. Come back tomorrow. We'll tell you our favorites from tomorrow. All right. Later.